Good morning, everybody. We are live with Prepper Talk Radio on AM 630 K-Talk. News, media, awesomeness, everything. We're excited to be here. I hope you're excited to be here. We've got a pretty good show for you.
I'm always excited to be here.
So Shane, the prepared guy, and you know me, Mr. PrepperCon. I'm getting fingers waved at me.
Bring it down a little bit.
Bring it down a little bit.
I got the headphones on. Scott forgot his headphones today, so
I've been cutting commercials. It's commercial week.
Oh, bring the Simeon down. Bring that down. There we go. Background's a little too loud. There we go.
Happy now?
I'm happy now.
All right, welcome to Prepper Talk Radio, everybody. The bickering has begun.
Yes. Scott and I, we are very good friends, but we have quite opposite opinions on many cases on certain things.
What?
And
No. Of course we do. That's how life is.
That's right.
As well as you should with all of your friends.
That's how all couples, they bicker and they quarrel, right? Awkward silence.
We're a couple
awkward
now?
pause. Well,
Does your wife and my wife know about
depends
this?
on what you consider.
Did
a
I know
couple.
about this? You weirdo. Hey, we got an awesome show. We're talking winter prep. We're talking
Fall prep. We're
fall
talking
prep. Checking
Again,
your
this is
72-hour kits.
our third week talking about, in general, this type of prep.
The seasonal prep stuff.
Seasonal, very good, yeah.
And the reason we're doing that is this weekend is kind of my lifelong trigger time of this is when I go through my bags, I go through my car kits, and I transition to the fall and winter gear. You should be checking your bag monthly, especially if you're using anything in it, because there's always a case where you might need to change something. But you should also be checking your house, checking all the things you're taking care of, your stewardship, if you will, to make sure you've got what you need.
And that's what
Emphasis.
that
You've got what you need. And that comes from having the right gear, having the right knowledge, and having the right resources. Speaking of resources, this show is brought to you by our awesome friends at Survival Medical, who have knocked out the old way of first aid. I knocked it out, submitted it, thrown it off the bus, whatever you want to call it. They've actually figured out a way to actually extend all of your first aid stuff. So instead of a kit that lasts you a year and a half, maybe up to 2 years, then the Band-Aids don't stick and the gels don't disinfect anymore, and they're just everything's powder or broken. And they've got up to 20-year shelf life first aid system. Everything, all of their kits. You can open them, close them. They've got this little tablet inside that actually holds the atmosphere in perfect conditions to keep these things lasting longer. I don't know the full science on it, but it's been very impressive. You can check them out. Survival Medical is online at survival-medical.com, but you can also go to the Murray Sam's Club right off State Street and about 215, just south of 215. Love that place. It's awesome. Check them out. You will be so happy because it's one of those things that you can actually get, and it will give you peace of mind. It'll give you the stuff you need when you need it. Everything's labeled. It's easy to use. Designed for a dummy like me.
Oh, come on.
I'm not a medical guy. I'm not.
No, I see your point, though.
Other things I'm awesome at. Shelter building, I grew up in a general contractor's house. So if I don't know how to build a shelter, I'd probably have been disowned. But I'm not the first aid guy. My wife's better at first aid than I am, so she knows all this stuff better. But this stuff is easy enough that I can just figure it out and use it.
Yeah. And that really kind of brings up the first thing I wanted to warm up on today is the word balance, comes to mind. Being what I want to be full-time prepper, I guess you could call it, and trying to balance all the skills, all the talents, all the tools, all the supplies you need to be adequately prepared or self-sufficient, I guess, is more the right term, and still not be a weirdo, a fanatic, a crazy type of prepper, and maybe be overly heavy on certain skills and lacking on others. That's something I continually struggle with is this balance. I guess I just call it balance. Now I know that maybe I feel a little heavy on certain skills and definitely light on others. Like last week we talked about gardening. I'm definitely light on gardening and food production. So I need to put more focus on that to balance out my skill set, I guess you could say.
Well, there's also the harmony element, right?
Harmony, great word.
You can be super tactical, like our friend Jeff. He is Mr. Tactician. Well, everything leads to that because he grew up focus on a military career, focus on an operative career,
and
everything is very tactical, and so that mindset's just been enhanced, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Then you look at one of my good friends, John, who he's got a little tactical, but he is Mr. I can do anything in the wilderness. Wilderness survival, off-grid living. He can do medical tinctures. Like, he can tell you what herbs do what, how to use them, when to use them, when not to use them. But he's got his imbalance, right? But when you put these guys together, you put me with them, you put you with them, you get your group, and you get your group based on trust first and then skill second. You get your group of people together, and now you've got resources, and you've got balance, you've got harmony. If you have no one that knows medical, you're screwed.
Yep.
If you have no one that knows how to grow food, you're screwed. If you're in a wilderness survival situation, you don't know how to start a fire, and it's cold, and it's getting colder, and you don't have shelter, adequate shelter, or enough something for a windbreak or something to keep the water off you, you're screwed. And so it's always good. That's why in Scouts we learn the buddy system. Two brains are better than one, except for when they're 12 to 13 years old. Then it's questionable. It might be one brain combined between the two of them, and you're good. But you've always got to work on balance and finding other people that can work with you that can fill the gaps. But then as often as you can, and this is something Shane's good at, as often as you can, study up, learn something new, expand in your repertoire.
Yeah, and that's why I love getting ready for the show. Is coming here talking is brushing up on the topics and doing my prep before the show and say, oh yeah, I remember that now, and it becomes more ingrained in my psyche, and I can use it more effectively every day. And I guess also with balance, I see, okay, how do I balance work and home life, family life, and prepping and all the stuff we have on the side that we're trying to build other businesses and so forth.
Yep.
That is just, for me, a constant struggle. I haven't blogged since the 1st of September. I haven't posted a blog since the 1st of September. And it's almost the end of September. I know. I try and do it. I used to try and do it twice a week at least, and now, it's been more than a few weeks. So I'm feeling out of balance, I must say.
That's normal. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a natural occurrence we all go through, especially in prepping. If you look at your list of things that you've got, we like to keep track of what we have. We like to keep track inventory.
And a list of the things that we need.
And we look at the things we need, the things we have, the things that, someone tells us about and all of a sudden goes on the list. It can be overwhelming, it can be stressful, and that's where most of the beginner preppers, people who are just waking up or just starting to say, okay, I need to be better prepared, that's where they get overwhelmed. And so I want you to take the show and take the comments that we bring to the table, and callers, if you've got comments on this and ideas on how to be better balanced and how to be better aware and what to do at this time in your life based on what's going on, how to be better prepared, how to take this in bite-sized chunks. We're going to talk about that today as well, but we're going to take it really small today, and we're going to talk about seasonal prep and how to transition from the summer prep to this fall winter prep, because it changes quite drastically. And you need to make sure you've got the right stuff in your car so that if something does happen, or say you come across an accident, you can help respond, you can help take care of those people till additional resources come. Or say there's a power outage. We just had a tornado. Are you kidding me? Utah's never going to have a tornado. So we had one, what, 99?
Two in the same, back in 90-something.
90-something.
Yeah.
And then
two on the same day.
We'll never have another tornado again. It doesn't happen in Utah. Blah, blah. Yeah. Two of them. One of them went through, what, Riverdale? The other one was down in Panguitch. Not good, people. Now, those people now have no homes in some cases. They had to be evacuated. Others just didn't have power. There's no power to 37,000 people.
30, that many.
That's what
that's right.
That's what they said on the radio, and that's what they said on the news.
Right.
37,000 people without power, and I think it was just for 24 hours.
But still, think of how cold your house can get in the middle of winter in 24 hours.
Yeah. Now, this was, the storm ended. It was cold. It was probably 48 degrees that night, but it wasn't freezing. How do you keep warm?
Yep. And, if it were freezing, then we'd be more concerned about pipes or, freezing and so forth. But obviously right now it's definitely the time to start getting ready for that, so that your mindset. Now, if you think back to like the pioneers and to our forefathers and founders and so forth, how did they get through winter? I mean, what did they do? That's where my mind kind of leads me, is look toward the past in order to prepare for the future, or potential rough times. So how did they keep their homes warm? How did they live through the winter? How did they, because obviously they had just as tough or harder winters than we do, without as many great resources and technology that we have now.
I think one of the benefits was they had a simpler way of life.
Absolutely.
We've got pipes throughout our whole house. If it freezes, you got to watch out for all those pipes, or go turn the water off at the
drain
source.
The pipes and
Safest thing, obviously, drain the pipes, turn off the source before night every night, and then turn it back on in the morning when it's warm.
Or let it run all night long, which is not a good option.
Yeah, expensive. The other thing is, and this is one of the things I love with the newer homes, is they've actually got the water panel. So you've actually got
right.
You can turn off
a
manifold. Thank you. You can turn off water to different sections of the house, so that you're only having to keep a certain section warm. And if you've got an extra wood burning stove or furnace system that's a backup, boom.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Bob's your uncle. Everything's taken care of. But for the most part, none of us have that.
Yeah, and also I think another thing you could do is, like in my house, I have an older home and with copper piping, so it's not off a manifold system. So what that means is there's one long line, and at the very end of the line is the last sink.
Yep.
And so you could turn that sink on, and most all of the pipes should flow so that you don't get any particular pipe that's going to freeze. So if you've identified which sink takes the longest to get hot when you turn the hot water on,
that's my bathroom,
which is for us our kitchen sink. We just leave that running, and most of the pipes should flow and not freeze, in an outage like that. Or probably a better option: turn your water off at the main valve, and turn some faucets on in the basement, and drain the water out of those pipes so they don't freeze.
Exactly. So before the break hits, which is going to hit in the next few minutes, let's start talking about the things we need to transition and the things that we need to start changing. Okay. I like to start first with my everyday carry. For those of you who don't know what everyday carry is, or EDC is, you'll see it all over the internet. EDC, what's in your EDC? Or you'll also hear pocket check. It's the things that you have with you or near you at all times. I have a bag in the car. I also carry a few different items on me. But some of those things you need to make sure you're changing.
Now, some people will change the way they carry their firearm because they're changing the way they dress.
Yep.
So if you have to wear a tucked-in shirt, and you don't want to have a tucked-in concealable, inside the waistband holster, you can transition to wearing sweaters, or wearing something long sleeve that covers your belt, and you can wear an open carry holster, which can tend to be more comfortable, at least switching it up and changing your wardrobe a little bit. So that's one thing that comes right to mind, is wearing. I love jackets. I love wearing long sleeve in the cooler weather, which then makes it easier to conceal.
Yeah, you can transition to a shoulder holster, or an inside the shirt holster. There's like tank top versions of holsters that they're form fitting, and they've got pockets so you can put a firearm in, as well as other fun things. But there's a lot of different ways you can do that. There's also different ways you can carry your stuff. For example, during the summer, spring, I have a small bag in my car. I don't have extra wool blankets. I don't have extra wool socks. I don't have, a parka. I don't have this huge plethora, cornucopia, if you will, of additional items. But as soon as the fall hits, oh, you bet,
it's stocked up.
My big jacket's now in the back seat. I've got extra ponchos, extra blankets. In fact, the Utah game that they beat the USC a week ago, I was at that game, and it was said it wasn't going to rain. It was going to be done raining by 6 o'clock. Yeah, right. So I had 2 emergency blankets in my pockets, 2 ponchos in my pockets, because I had a buddy with me, and he'd invited me to the game. He was very kind. And so I had stuff not just for me, but for him. And that's because he's got limitations. Good neighbor, awesome kid, but he's got limitations. He doesn't have the mindset to think about personal preparedness. He can't drive himself, can't do a lot of things, but he is one of the most amazing fans I've ever seen. And he's one of the most cheerful people I know. And so I'm like, I got to keep this kid cheerful. I got to keep this kid happy and safe. So I had an emergency blanket for him. I had an extra poncho for him. I had all this other stuff to help him be prepared as well. And guess what? We ended up using the ponchos We ended up and we had nice big coats on, nice wool socks on, nice big boots. We had all this stuff, but it wasn't enough. And thankfully, I brought the extra stuff. So we're going to talk about that when we get back from the break.
All right,
Keep tuning in. We're brought to you by Survival Medical. Check them out at Sam's Club on State Street and 215.
I-15.
Yeah,
There you go.
I-215.
Oh, 250.
15 and State don't cross.
Oh, you're right.
I am right. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsors. Well, welcome back to Prepper Talk Radio on AM 630, K-Talk Media. Check out the new website, ktalkmedia.com. It's getting better every day. We're adding more content. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Prepper Talk Radio. Pretty easy to find. And the coolest thing about it is we're just like you. We're just everyday guys doing everyday jobs, and we have a cool radio show.
Painfully normal every
Painfully
day.
normal? I don't know. I enjoy it. So
Absolutely.
As a wonderful reminder, we've got General Conference coming up this next weekend. That's a Utah thing. I guess it's a global thing, but in Utah, it's like you hear about it. So it's really easy for us to remember, okay, time to rotate my stuff. Every time you hear about conference, because that's about the time seasons change, I've always just said, oh, conference weekend, change all my stuff. And in the meantime, while you're waiting for this weekend to change stuff, you can actually start now. I think it's a good idea to start now. But check out Survival Medical. These guys have the best first aid kits. It's the only first aid kit, tougher than nature. They're in the Utah Sam's Clubs right now. They're in Murray. Check them out. They've got a cool display that actually explains how cool the product is. Shows, it's waterproof. It's windproof. It's going to last a long time. They've got up to 20-year life on these products. Check them out over at Sam's Club on State Street and I-215. They'll be there for another probably 7 days, I think. But get there now, get your stuff, and then go get yourself ready. Get things taken care of. If you procrastinate getting things taken care of, you will be screwed if something unknown happens and you're not prepared. That's why we prepare. We try to prepare for as many possible things we can so that you don't have to worry about it. So that you can actually be a resource when something happens rather than a drain.
That's why I brought up the balance. Where do we find the balance? And I think that also comes into, okay, I've got X amount of this supply and X amount of that supply. What do I need next? I mean, where's my priority? Do I have too much ammo? I have too many guns at this point, or do I need more wheat? Do I need more flour or rice? Those types of. That's always tricky for me to figure out for our family needs is the balance of supplies according to the funds that are coming in. Okay, what do we apply that to next?
Yep.
Do we add a wood-burning stove to the house? So that's where I want this kind of conversation to go today is toward, okay, how do we keep the house? I mean, I want to talk about that anyway.
Well, before we get into that, let's
going to lead the conversation.
Keep talking. You're like hijack and
I tend to
switch
hijack.
off. We're still talking about winter prep, things you need to be getting ready for. And yes, prioritizing is important, but you've also got to realize, okay, what's in someone's budget? Everyone has a budget to take care of themselves. What they end up doing with it is the problem. A lot of times friends will be like, well, I want to go on this trip to so-and-so, such and such instead. It's more important. Okay, well, what happens if you lose your job in the meantime? How are you going to survive? That's why we talk about emergency preparedness. It's not just the scenario of what if the power goes out all over the city because of an earthquake, or what if there's a tornado and you're displaced. It's any kind of life-changing scenario. What if you're not planning on having a kid and all of a sudden you've got a kid?
It's the everyday
There's
things.
crazy things that can happen all the time. So we're talking right now specifically fall and winter changes. So I'm just gonna go through my list real quickly.
Cool.
Things that I always make sure I have additional of as soon as the weather gets cold. Additional wool socks, an additional warm change of clothes. So in the summer I might have an extra pair of utility pants, lightweight, breathable, zip off where I can actually have them into shorts or whatever I want to use them for. In the winter, I have my heavy duty, my Carhartts, my Dickies, my tougher pants, thicker, warmer. That's going to keep me, better insulated against the cold. Jackets and coats, waterproofed, knit hats. I love wool hats. In the winter, you've got to have extra wool hats because you'll freeze if you don't have them. And wool is great. I love wool of any kind. Wool blankets, wool gloves. And if you want to get more technical, there's other products you can get that are even better. But this is on a dime.
Yeah, absolutely.
On a dime, on a budget, this is always going to take care of you. Hand and feet warmers. I have a pack of those in the car all winter long. You can get them at the end of the winter, and you can get them usually super discounted, but you always got to watch out because expiration dates are usually really short when those come in. Always make sure you're also in your car. You've got your first aid kit. You've got a car jumper kit, and you know how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your tire change kit and a blanket to throw down that you can lay on because most likely the ground's going to be wet or icy.
I was going to make sure to bring that up. Is bring something that's kind of waterproof.
Mm-hmm.
That you can throw down on the ground if you have to get under your car for to change a tire or whatever, but you're not going to get wet. That's going to protect you from the wet road, the snow, and so forth. I think that's something I always have in my vehicle. I don't like to get dirty. I mean, even in the summer, I have that down so I can, if I need to crawl around under my vehicle, that I don't want to get dirty and get back in the car.
Exactly.
So, and for me, it's about everyday stuff. It's not just about emergencies because, an emergency can happen and you may or may not be prepared for it. But are you prepared for the everyday little things? Like, I need a pen. I mean, yes, I always have a pen on me. That sounds stupid and silly, but I always have a pen. Exactly.
And in the winter, if you just leave it in your car all the time, it might freeze and you may not be able to write with it. Mm-hmm. So you want to keep one on you as best you can.
I'm constantly carrying bags in and out of my vehicle.
Yep.
And it's a bit of a curse, but...
So here's some other ones. A mummy bag, a Mylar mummy bag.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are great. You can still throw a wool blanket around you. This will just reflect heat back into you better.
If you're short on space.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just throw one of your sleeping bags in there.
Not all of us have that much room in their car, though.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not short on space, just keep a sleeping bag.
Yeah. Get a couple of things in your car just so that you've got them, and not just for you by yourself, but if you ever have anyone with you, it's good to have extra stuff because then they're taken care of as well. One of my favorite things to do is I actually rotate my food.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go through my MREs and I'll pull out the ones that are getting closer to their lifespan.
So do you eat them at that point?
I usually eat them. Mm-hmm. So conference weekend is eating my MREs. Sometimes eating the SOS food rations. Sometimes I take those to scouts and show the scouts what those will do. And they're like, "Oh, it's not so bad." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not so bad. It tastes like a sugar cookie. It's great. I love it." But it depends on what you have. But I always like to put heartier foods and more calories in during the winter. Because with the cold, you're going to be burning more calories just to stay alive. So I always increase my foods and increase my fuels. So I make sure I take my water in and out of the house every time I go in the car because I don't want it to freeze.
And that's one thing is I think people don't think about is having water in your vehicle during the winter because you can dehydrate just as fast or faster in the winter if you're outside doing fixing your vehicle or walking to a safe place, getting away from being stuck in your vehicle, then in the summer. So you need to have that water. And like Scott says, if it freezes up, it's not any good for you.
Yep.
And we always hear about which is a bit of a myth. Okay, don't eat the snow because it's going to take away your heat, and that's absolutely true. If you don't have appropriate shelter, if you're cold, you're getting hypothermic. Yeah, don't eat the snow. If you've got plenty of body heat and you're hot and you're exercising. Sure, go ahead and eat the snow. You've got plenty of calories. It takes a lot of calories to convert that snow into water. So keep that in mind. But just keeping water is going to avoid you from having to eat that snow to hydrate yourself. So water very important in the winter and summer.
And always have extra containers. I found that one of the biggest challenges is you get a water bottle and you're like, yeah, we're set, and then you're sharing it amongst other people, and whatever you've got going on. If they're sick, now you're going to be sick. Okay. So you want to take care of the germs and those issues, but have an extra container too, because if you do have to do snow, you can put the snow in that container and let it melt before you put it in your body.
Yeah, that's
change the temperature as much as you can, because you can just have that sitting in your lap and take the radiant heat from your body that might be excess, or put it inside the car with you where you're warmer. And that excess heat will be warming that up as well. So cross-utilize everything you can. That's the whole key. I always say duct tape. Duct tape's so important. Our good buddy over at Everyman Preparedness, Spencer, he actually has a video online. We should probably share this. He did a winter exercise where he went out and he pretended his car broke down and he had to sleep there overnight. And he set up Mylar blankets in the windows, on the roof, and basically created a little cocoon of heat. And he's like, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad. And this is snowy night. There was probably 3 feet of snow. He was up by Park City. Cold situation, but he just wanted to see what it's like, and he filmed it.
Yeah, it's just like having a tent out in the wilderness. You can more easily heat up that tent. It's also, in the caving world, if you're in a big cave and you're in there for an extended amount of time, you take a tent or build a Mylar blanket type shelter that you can heat up that small area. And it also definitely applies to your home. And I'm kind of leading this conversation along to staying warm in your home.
Yep.
Pick a particular room that maybe stays warmer because the sun is hitting it from the south or west side, and heat that room individually rather than trying to heat your entire room. If obviously your power goes out, you're not going to be able to run your furnace. So that's one technique that is all tied together is use your resources and use your brains. Use your common sense.
And make it fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone loves camping to a degree. Whether they want to go real camping or they want to go glamping where it's all nice. And bring your tent in your home. Your kids are going to love it. They're going to be less afraid of what's going on. They're going to be more excited about what you're doing by creating an environment of peace and tranquility. And they're going to be able to get through psychologically that downtime.
Yeah, absolutely. Set a tent up in your home.
Yeah.
Heat the tent up in that one room you're trying to keep warm.
Yeah, in that one room, set it up, make that where everyone sleeps, make that where everyone communes. Kids are going to love it. You can have a little lantern in there and you can talk stories and really get to know them better. That's what's one of the coolest things about survival situations. Yeah. You really get to know the person you're with. You really find out what they're made of.
Quality time with them.
Quality
and
time.
And you and I were talking about this a little bit the other week. You know what? If there's a collapse, man, bring it on. We're ready. Just bring it, because I want to spend some quality time with my family. I want to stop working. I want to sit down in a room with my family and read scriptures and talk and play games and have fun and bring it on. I tell you, to bring on the collapse. I'm ready for it.
I wouldn't say I'm ready for it, but as we're talking about this, if you've got things that we're missing that you think, hey, we need to make sure people think about this fall, give us a call. Join in on the conversation. We'd love to have you here and well, I guess not in studio, but get on the phone. Join us. We're passionate about this, so you might be tuning in and going, what the heck are these guys talking about, and why are they so excited about a collapse, or why are they so excited about the energy going out, or the entire grid just gone?
Well, just think if the power goes out and for 24 hours or longer, how are you going to heat your home?
And how are you going to use your sewer?
Yep.
Here's the thing. All the water is force pumped into our homes. We're not living off gravity-fed pressure systems because our grid's so big. Everything is manually pressurized.
And ultimately that's true because, say, like in Orem, we have water tanks sitting high on the hill, so everything is gravity-fed. But to get the water to those tanks, it has to be pumped out of the ground.
But there's also pressurized systems to keep all the businesses going because your business water systems pull a lot more water than your homes, your residential.
So they have to force additional
because it's all on
pressure.
the same system, they have to pressurize the entire network. So as soon as there's an issue and there's no pressurization of the network, you still have gravity fed to a degree, but once that's gone, it's gone, and that'll go quickly when the whole city's counting on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But the point is how are you going to flush your toilet? Where's that sewage going to go if there's no receptacle receiving it?
And especially in winter when you need to dig a little outhouse outside.
So be prepared that you may have to dig a latrine. We actually have a caller. Let's bring him on the air. Hey, thanks for calling K-Talk. You're on the air.
Yeah, you guys were talking about how to heat possibly your home if the power goes out for a while.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a prepper, too. I've got a lot of coal and a lot of wood, but it kind of was bothering me one day, so I got on YouTube. Besides you guys and all the info that you give us, YouTube's got some really good stuff, too. There was, the balloon tanks that you use to blow up the helium balloons?
Yeah.
When those are done with and discarded, there's actually some YouTube videos that show how you can make a real cheap, inexpensive, small wood-burning stove for each room in your home.
Okay.
And I've actually done that. And then I thought Home Depot would sell the stove piping, the triple wall, to just take out a window.
Right.
But they don't. I guess for liability reasons or something. They don't sell it. But Cal Ranch does.
Okay, cool.
Or I've even gotten it at the DI for real cheap.
Oh, nice.
Really?
That is
I've got 4 rooms, and I've got all 4 of those small little stoves set up out in my barn and my shed.
That's
with
fantastic.
Pipe ready to go if anything happens.
It would be great if you posted a picture of that to our Facebook page. That would be very cool.
And maybe the YouTube...
maybe the YouTube video.
That I watched. It was only a 15-minute video.
Yeah,
share that on our page. That would be awesome.
So yeah,
Great
everybody
resource.
needs to have a plan of how to heat their home. So what I'm doing this winter is I'm pulling out the gas insert in our house.
Yes.
And now my wife is going to freak out about this. Pulling out the gas insert and getting a wood-burning stove. I'm going to install that where the gas insert is. But also, a more economical way of doing that is like you're saying, you could take those little gas cylinders, or you can take 55-gallon drums, jump on Amazon, and you can find a 55-gallon drum wood-burning stove kit. So essentially, you cut in a front access door to it. You cut in a vent. Comes with feet that you can get it up off the floor, and you can even do a double 55-gallon drum kit. So you have a secondary drum above it that helps radiate more heat, and then you vent it out to like you say, a window. At worst case, maybe your back screen door, or if you have a gas insert fireplace, swap it out there and get some of that double or triple wall vent piping to rent it out the ceiling.
You can get that vent piping or even the cylinder type stove, the double stack over at Smith & Edwards, actually.
Oh, okay.
They've got them
Cool.
as well. They've got all your own kind of build it your own kits you can do. Another good resource is our good friends over at Cylinder Stoves. They've got cool. That's a nice Utah company.
Yeah,
they've got some really
cool
options, all different sizes. And you can even order just a window kit.
You can vent that just like a cooktop, wood burning oven. I mean, it's that's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, phenomenal. So find a way to keep your family warm this winter. Join us in the conversation. If you want to call in, we're about to head to break, but the number to call in is 801-254-5855. 801-254-5855. We love your contributions so far. We love doing the show. It's all about helping you be better prepared.
We don't want to talk all the time. We want to talk to you guys.
So we're heading into commercial. We're brought to you by Survival Medical. That's survival-medical.com. Next 11 days, they're going to be at Sam's Club off 215 and State Street. So we'll be right back after the break. Hey, welcome back to Prepper Talk Radio on K-Talk AM 630. Brought to you by Survival Medical, the only the only first aid kit tougher than nature. They're in Utah Sam's Club. They're going to be at the State Street and I-215 Sam's Club for the next 11 days. So get over there and check it out. We're talking winter preparedness. It's kind of switching out your gear, and we've got a caller on line 3. Let's bring him on the air. Hey, thanks for calling K-Talk. You're on the air.
Thank you. What you've been talking about reminds me of a few things. I love the movie The Book of Eli, starring Denzel Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a comment he makes, or someone makes, about how that people were killing each other over things that, like plastic gallon jugs, when they used to throw such things away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's too bad that a lot of the corporations are ran on money, and it's all about money. My family had an experience where we didn't have enough money to pay the gas bill, and so I got turned off. And so we came up with the ingenious idea, I guess, if you will, to fill up, this is during the summer, of course, to fill up gallon jugs, and from after we had drank the milk from them, to fill them up with water and put them out on the balcony to heat them up in the sun, and thus we had somewhat of a warm shower that we were able to take.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you a mother of necessity. How does that go? Is necessity is the mother of invention. There we go.
There you go.
That's
necessity being the mother of invention. So you took them out during the day. You'd take those containers out, put them in the sun to get them warmed up, and you'd use that for your personal cleaning and hygiene.
Right. Just took the gallon jug in the shower and poured it over your head, and thus warm shower. But the wife didn't like that happening for quite an extensive period of time. So I could see the point of what you guys are doing is suggesting different ways to solar energy, or different ways to prepare for when the lights go out. In fact, an EMP strike could shut off the power all over the country and cause a lot of havoc.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if that's something you guys get into, but that's always a possibility as to how it could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do talk about EMP and those types of concerns on a regular basis, or occasionally, I should say. But here's something that came to my mind is, now I'm going to be putting in a wood-burning stove, not a fireplace, but a wood-burning stove that it better radiates heat. And what I can do, what I've seen done online, is actually taking copper tubing, copper piping, and wrapping that stove, at least size of that stove, in order to heat water as a dual purpose. So you can cook on it, so it has a flat top to cook on it, it heats the house, and you can warm up water all at the same time and use it as efficiently as possible.
Yep. I love that you called in, because it kind of helps us remember that we can get creative. There's a lot of different things. YouTube, our prior caller, he found a video on YouTube to help him put in, these different types of stoves. There's so many different things you can do, and you just got to get creative. But if you're starving and if you're hungry and if you can't function, you can't get creative and you can't come up with solutions.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's right. So
that's what we love.
You got to have things prepared ahead of time, and there's trillions of gigawatts going to waste with not tapping into the sun, and I'm surprised that I'm sure that there's probably inventions that have been shelved by different corporations that want to know that that it would revolutionize the addiction that we have to the corporations that provide us with powers.
Oh yeah,
and there's just got to be more ways to be able to tap into the energy that's created by the sun, and is there more than just solar panels out there?
Well, there absolutely is. There's, of course, solar photovoltaic, solar electric panels, but there's also solar thermal panels that are used in heating water or heating a glycol, and then it goes into a tank and has a heat exchanger to where you can heat the water in your water heater, so it complements your water heater. So there's really cool systems out there where they can stand alone. You can have water going through it, and you can heat it in a panel on your roof, and then come down and you can use it, or use it with a glycol enclosed. Well, like in Utah here, we need to use glycol because it'll freeze in the winter, and use that as a heat exchanger. So yeah, absolutely, those panels have been around for a long time, and you can use those right now to help supplement your water heating. And in an emergency, you'll need some solar electric power to power those pumps.
Yep.
For heating that water up on your roof. But yeah, absolutely, take advantage of technology and put those systems into use now, so that when power's out, you'll barely even notice it.
You actually brought up an interesting point, harnessing the sun's energy. A lot of times we think of just solar panels as the only option. Think about green rooms or greenhouses. Sorry. Greenhouses are great because then it extends your growing cycle, but you can also use those to heat your home. So you can take, if you've got a deck off the back of your house, if that's a good southern exposure, or maybe a east or west exposure during the day where it gets you some sunlight, take a bunch of Mylar, go to the Home Depot, get a bunch of the Mylar sheets, the drop cloths, and you can actually create a greenhouse just running it from your roof line down to the deck railing, and then close that, and then allow that heat to trap in there, and it'll help warm up your house.
You can use fans to move that heat inside.
Well, if the power's off, you can't use a fan.
Well, I have solar fans, so that's what I'm thinking.
Show off.
Well, and I think that's a good idea, is also think of the passive ways that you can use the sun. So like you're saying, like a greenhouse, if you have a southern or western-facing home, add a balcony on there, enclose it, make it a greenhouse or a sunroom, which really heats up in the winter, and then use that to force that air into your house somehow to heat it up during winter and decrease your heating bill and increase your comfort.
Absolutely.
I like the comment you made about how the pioneers or something to the effect that the people of the past were figuring out ways to do things without power, and I'm sure that there's probably steel pumps out there that are maybe hand cranked, where you don't have to rely on electricity to run them, or a combination of the two. I was thinking of a fan. When you mentioned fan, I was thinking of those bikes, exercise bikes that have the fan that goes turns as you're exercising. That could be another option.
That's a great option.
Too.
That'll keep you warm because you're exercising.
Yeah, you're moving too.
Kind of like Silent Green, where in that movie where Charles Heston's is on that degenerating bike to create the electricity, that kind of thing. You know?
I need to put that on my list on Amazon. I need to buy that movie. Soylent Green.
Soylent Green. There we
Put
go.
it on your list.
Well, hey, thank you so much for your call. We got some more callers. We're gonna hop on and take these
Thanks
guys.
for your call.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for calling K-Talk. You are on the air.
Yeah, you were talking about the back porch sunrooms.
Yeah.
I actually did the miler for probably 10 or 20 years. Well, about 10 or 12 years, and my wife finally got tired of how it looked in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So, KSL.com, I got 5 sliding patio door glasses for free from, people to skim away for free on the free section.
Mm-hmm.
And a really cool thing to do is to take those sliding patio door glass thingies and put them on your back porch with
close your
liquid
back porch
nail.
with those. I have thought of that.
And you've got to be able to vend it, so you got to have a screen system in where you can open the doors, because in the dead of winter when it's like majorly freezing, I live in Farmington, it gets to be 98 to 100 degrees out in that thing during the day. And I grow stuff all season out there.
In that room. Very cool.
But
That's
the
awesome.
sliding glass doors on KSL.com that are free all the time are a good way to go. So
I'm going to have to beat you to the punch next time.
See you
Next time
guys.
a door pops up, I'm there.
Let's see who wins. Hey, thank you so much for your call.
Thanks for the
Thanks.
You bet. Have a good one.
You too. And there are a lot of different ways you can take advantage of that type of solar gain. Back in the 70s, I don't know if you remember seeing these panels up on the roof. They looked like solar thermal panels, not really solar electric panels. It looked like solar thermal panels. And what they were doing is actually collecting the heat from the sun and using a fan to force that air into the house. It was very inefficient. It was horrible, and they didn't last for very long. And the ones I've seen on houses in my neighborhood are since gone. But you can improvise that, kind of like a solar oven. If you think how a solar oven works, sitting out in the sun is basically a box that collects light and traps it in with a piece of glass. You can do the same thing, improvise that, get creative. Okay, how do I capture all the sun coming in this window? Or if I don't have a window that faces directly south, how can I capture that and redirect that heat into the house? So there's a lot of different ways you can get creative. And talking about creative, we're talking about how to heat our house. And obviously, if you have a fireplace, it's not nearly as effective as a stove, a wood-burning stove or a wood stove that you can cook on, because you lose a lot of heat out of the chimney. But you also have to keep in mind, okay, how am I going to clean that? If you're using it for an extended period of time, chimneys need to be cleaned. And again, kind of looking back to our ancestors, the pioneers, those who lived without electricity for generations, for literally thousands of years. What did they do? I mean, they had to clean their chimneys, they had to clean their flues, because that creosote, that soot would build up and catch fires. So, of course, that's where chimney sweeps came in.
Yep. You can get those at Ace has them.
You can do it yourself.
Ace Hardware. And,
actually, absolutely.
I just forgot the name of the place. Smith & Edwards, one of my favorite stores.
And I'm sure that Cal Ranch probably has them as well, IFA.
I would hope they do.
So just a kit to clean it, and you can use a power drill with a chimney sweep kit and do it yourself. You can do it from inside, or you can do it from the roof.
Are there other ways? That's kind of the only way I know.
I read one this just last night as I did my research. I'm smiling. This was hilarious. And this was probably, I think it was a comment that it was either Thomas Jefferson or someone of the founders said, throw a couple chickens in your chimney and let them flail around, and that'll help clean out the soot.
I hope you can hear how hard I'm shaking my head.
Oh my goodness, I thought that was hilarious.
So that was a joke.
No, that was serious. They were
actually did
serious. Throw a couple of chickens in your chimney, obviously when there's no fire in there, and that'll help clean out the soot.
Well, and if there is a fire there, you're prepping dinner.
Right, you're making dinner too.
Two birds with one stone. That was
with
bad.
one fireplace.
One fireplace. Okay.
So get creative, and don't hold back. And you can try anything. Like you say, I got to clean this out. I don't have time. Throw a couple chickens in there. I mean,
that's hilarious.
How hilarious is that? And that just goes to tell me all the different tricks and secrets that we've lost over the years of how to stay warm, of how to prepare ourselves for winter, and how to live through winter and difficult times that we need to learn again.
That's funny. Well, we got one more caller. Let's take this caller. Hey, thanks for calling K-Talk. You're on the air. What have you got for us for winter prep?
Oh, we lost it.
Oh,
she's gone.
Call back. We lost you. Call back. So we're still talking winter prep, things you can do to kind of keep warmer in the winter, things you can do to better prepare yourself and your family. Fuels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fuels. That was the next
We
on my
need to
list
talk about
there.
fuels. So, number one, first and foremost, always have backup fuels at home.
Mm-hmm.
Extra couple gallons, probably 20 gallons of
Mm-hmm.
fuel for your cars.
Mm-hmm.
Never let your car go below half tank.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then have propane you can cook with. Have, there's other oils and
kerosene. And, yeah, but there's, fuel can be dangerous to store, especially gasoline in particular. But, if you're obviously going to have a wood-burning stove, you need to stock up on your wood. And that's one thing that our I want to say pioneers would do, and our ancestors would do, is they would be cutting wood. Obviously, they need to cook all year long, and so they'd have a wood pile just to cook with. But they would stock up right at this time of year with make the wood pile as big as possible, because it's no fun to cut wood in winter. I mean, that's just so you stockpile it up for winter. And, that's something I did for my grandpa. We'd go up and cut his stockpile of wood for the winter, and he'd heat his entire place from his little wood burning stove. And so wood is I think number one on the list. And you have to have a source. You've got to be prepared. You've got to plan ahead. But also, like Scott was saying, I try and keep 20 gallons or so of gas in a separate shed away from the garage. Where it's safe, and
Yep.
That's can be very concerning. But propane is fantastic.
Oh yeah, if you've got a barbecue, that's one area you can
Mm-hmm.
cook on, especially if you've got a hot plate on that barbecue. But other things, another fuel that people don't think about are candles.
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially tea candles, because you can use those, for example, with a Herc oven to bake your food. You can use them with
I've got one of those.
the terracotta pots to heat an entire room. And there's plans for that. We should share that on our social media page. There's plans for that. It's super easy. For like $15, you've got a room heater.
A radiant heat from just simple candles.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it doesn't put off a lot of smoke, so it's safe to do inside in that one small room you've got your whole family confined in. But yeah, candles are and you can even learn to make candles, right from scratch too.
You can. There's so many things you can do. We want you to get creative in your life. We want you to be better prepared. Our whole purpose behind doing this show is to help the community. We are not the experts. We're fantastic fans of preparedness. We're getting there. We're trying to bring in more people to help every week to help us. But because of you, that's why we do this show. This is our 1 year mark. Next week we're going to have a special show, so
Special
tune
edition,
in
1 year
of our special edition of awesomeness. So join us next week on K Talk AM 630. We're signing off for now, but thank you so much for being part of the show.
We spend our money.
Concur.
Well,